This lesson visually investigates the relationship between two variables by introducing the scatter chart, also known as the XY plot. We will learn how to plot and interpret a scatter chart in Excel. Scatter charts in Excel. A scatter chart, also known as an XY plot, is a visual representation of the relationship between two variables. It shows how are the two variables related. Is the relationship a positive relationship, a negative relationship, or is there no relationship? The two axes in a scatter chart represent the two variables, and the coordinates of every point on the chart are the values of the two variables. We will see this by way of an example. We'll open an Excel file. The file that we'll use is named height and weight. So this file contains the names of certain Olympic athletes from a recent Olympic Games. Specifically, what is contained is the name of the athlete, the second name, the first name, the height of the athlete in centimeters, the weight of the athlete in kilograms, the country, and the gender of the athlete. So now what we are interested, given this file, is in studying the relationship between the two variables, height and weight. And we'll do this by plotting a scatter plot between the two variables. To do that, first we go to any empty place in our worksheet, put our cursor there, and go to Insert. This is where we'll insert a scatter chart or a scatter plot. In the charts area, earlier when we had plotted various charts, we had used the column option, the line option, the pie option. There's also a scatter option. So we'll choose the scatter option and choose the very first, which is the most popular option. So a template is produced, a blank template. We can move it a little bit to the side. Now we'll be plotting our scatter plot in this template. So we click anywhere in this blank template or slate, do a right click, select data, click on add. I need to specify what would go in my horizontal axis and what would go in my vertical axis. So let me choose height to be used for the horizontal axis and weight to be used for the vertical axis. So for my horizontal axis, I choose the data in the height column from the first data point to the very end. We'll also select our vertical axis values, which is the weight values. So again, we select the very first weight to the very end. Do an OK. Do another OK. So what is produced is a scatter plot between the height of the athlete and the weight of the athlete. The height is on the horizontal axis and the weight of the athlete in kilograms is on the vertical axis. Notice the scatter plot shows the relationship between the two variables. To make the presentation a bit more visually appealing, we'll do some minor modifications to this chart. We'll begin by adding the horizontal axis labels, vertical axis labels, and a chart title to this scatter plot. So select my horizontal axis, go to layout, axis titles, primary horizontal axis title, below axis, and since these are the heights, I'll call them height in centimeters. Similarly, I'll add a vertical axis title, go to layout, axis titles, a rotated title, and this is the weight in kilograms. I can get rid of this series 1 there, the notation series 1. If I want, I can give it a name, but I really don't need it here. I delete that. I'll add a chart title. I'll select this chart area, layout, chart title, above chart, heights and weights of athletes. I could change the font for this. Another modification I'll do is in this plot, all of these points, these individual points are these individual athletes. Every athlete is represented by a particular point. They are clustered together. So I could change the formatting of my horizontal axis so that I get a better visual representation. None of the athletes has a height less than 125 centimeters. So let me begin my horizontal axis with 125 centimeters. I do that by selecting my axis, right click, format axis, the minimum rather than an automatic selection of the minimum value, which in this case is 0. I would choose my minimum value to be, let's say, 125 centimeters and do an OK. So now this gives me a slightly better visual representation of the relationship between heights and weights. I can expand it further by dragging it down. And what does this trend indicate? As expected, greater the height of an athlete, we also see that the weight also increases. So there, this visual representation of this scatter plot tells me that there is a positive relationship between the height of an athlete and his or her weight. How strong is this relationship is a subject matter of a later lesson. Also, as an exercise, I'll leave it to you to figure out whether a similar pattern is seen across the two genders, male athletes, female athletes. Remember, this current scatter plot is a plot between all athletes irrespective of their gender. So you could do a similar exercise by segregating all the male athletes, the female athletes, and seeing whether similar patterns are observed across both genders.